So we've got Damian and Elaine from Swim England. They're going to be talking about some key evidence actually surrounding swimming, but not particularly just the numbers, actually the wider impact that sort of this increase in aquatic activity within leisure centres is having on individuals, but the centres themselves. So I think some very, very interesting information here, plus also some exciting opportunities for the future in terms of how you might sort of embrace that within your world. So Elaine and Damian, I'll hand over to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Yvonne. So I'm the warm-up act, and Elaine will have the majority of the time here for us. What we wanted to do, and it flows really nicely from the two speakers you've heard already, is just to frame some of the insight that we've developed in the 4 years since I've joined ASA as was now Swim England. And then Elaine will talk to you about some of the detail of how we bring that to life, how that actually starts to affect people's lives for the better. And then there's another call to action later, so without wanting to sound like, what did the Romans do for us? If you do two things today, then come and have a chat, talk to us at the breaks. We're here all day as well, like Lisa is, and we want to engage with you in terms of what our future direction is. So, happiness is a week. Oh, I've forgotten the report. Hands up. Who thinks swimming is good for you? Let's have a show of hands. I should have probably flicked over to that slide slightly after answering that question. Yeah, Damian. Yeah, you've proved your own case there. Well done. What we did was, just over a year and a half ago, was bring together luminaries from the sectors of health, wellbeing and sport and activity as a health commission. And the Health Commission, they commissioned a report looking at a review of what's out there academically, what information, what insight exists in terms of the value of swimming. And it looked across the life course, it looked across the piece in terms of what have we got, what's peer reviewed that's out there, that's been published, and what does it say? You can see there what we wanted to do and what we're on the journey towards is developing a story of why aquatics, not just swimming, and being in the water is beneficial to health and well-being. And we looked at it. This is two of the key stats that we looked at in the report. There's 156 pages of report that I've left over there, and I won't bore you with all of the details. But we put together a specific report towards that said, look, this is us. This is Swim England's response to all of this information, and this is why it's useful having a conversation with us. It links back to the outcomes. It links back to, actually, why would you talk to Swim England in terms of benefiting your organisation? For me, I'm the Insight and Partnerships Director at Swim England, and I sit across three teams. Elaine is the Head of Health and Wellbeing. We've got Leslie Hill, who's our Strategic Partnerships Director, and also Ken Pollard, who's our Insight Lead. What we do is grow aquatics. We want aquatics to be as successful as possible. We already heard previously there's a lot of pressure on local authorities and pressure in terms of contracts. And we want to be able to help our partners up and down the country to make that aquatic offer at the local level as effective and as relevant to the local audiences as possible. And we've been working with Lisa and the team, as she mentioned, in terms of some of those swim pilots, to really get to the detail of how do we affect people's lives for the better, and how do we add value to local authorities, to trusts, and to operators to make their aquatic businesses more efficient, to build pull programs and customer experiences that they will recruit more people into. We're on a journey. I mentioned that earlier. We haven't got all of the data yet. We haven't got all of the insight, but we have started to look at some of the information that Lisa highlighted earlier. This is from our swimming tracker that we collect. We have 1,000 interviews a month. It's 11-plus-year-olds. And we started to look at what's the impact of swimming. So where we look at current swimmers on there, we're looking roughly going once a month to once every couple of months. So they're occasional swimmers. They haven't quite got what we call the swimming habit. They're not our swimming champions. But you can see the sorts of uplift on life satisfaction, on happiness, on self-efficacy, and the measures that Lisa talked about earlier in terms of that weekly swim. And one of the things that we need to look at now is actually, how do we look at this for people with different types of long-term conditions, or the different demographics that were mentioned earlier, to start unpicking the story in terms of the benefits. One of the next challenges on that journey that I talked about is actually, yes, we're not quite there in terms of unpicking the causality. So are these people feeling happier and then they go swimming, or are they going swimming and feeling happier as a result of that? And that'll be one of the next parts of our insight journey. I think that's a big part of what the sector needs to look at as a whole. But it's a good starting point. And it's a good starting point because when we look at, for instance, some of the long-term health conditions on our tracker, and we look at mental health, for instance, we can start to look at these uplifts as well. And that helps us when we're developing our future campaigns. So we've got This Girl Can, and that's brilliant. We're going to align very closely to that as one of the larger NGBs. Why wouldn't we? We're also launching our #LoveSwimming campaign next week, and part of that will look at the benefits in terms of the mental well-being of going swimming. So look out for that. Please engage with that campaign. Share it through your channels, would be my ask. The final slide from me before I hand over to Elaine is about sort of the DNA, if you like, of what we've been doing. Hands up who's seen this. I'm not expecting as many as those who think swimming's good for you. Yeah, okay, we've got some. That highlights that I've been presenting this. I've presented this deck of slides around our behavioural insights about 200 times now over the years, since it was done 3 years ago. This is about creating good customer experiences. It actually goes beyond aquatics. This is what does good look like, and how do you engage people with compelling, relevant communications up front? How do you frame the customer experience so that when they join or when they come through the front door, they do have a warm welcome? The facility is fit for purpose. The culture of the facility is inclusive, is engaging. How do we do that? And then the final frontier is around actually making sure what happens in the pool is relevant. So this has led to a lot of the work that Lisa and the team with the Swim Local pilots, and what we hope we'll do with local delivery pilots, has started to shake things up significantly at the local level. And we're getting some brilliant usage cases now of it changing, of it shifting the dial. This does bring more people in. And what Elaine will talk to you about now is actually some specifics around how we've used this frontier system, this frontier approach, to really resonate with specific hard-to-reach or hard-to-engage local audiences. So I'll hand over to Elaine now.
Thank you. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how we've used that frontier model in the design and development of some of the programs that we've been running. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, firstly, the Dementia Friendly Swimming project. How many of you have heard of the Dementia Friendly Swimming project? Oh, a fair few, that's good. We were funded by the Department of Health in their Innovation, Excellence and Strategic Development Fund to run this program for 3 years. And it was a partnership. All the work we do is a partnership. And it involved engagement with a number of different bodies, including the Alzheimer's Society and also the operators on the ground. And the idea was to create a sort of framework to help people develop the best customer experience, to engage and bring in people with dementia, but also to support their carers as well. So that's where we were coming from, and that's what we were seeking to do. And we used the frontier model. Why wouldn't we? So, and what the slide shows is the different components of what that translates to in action on the ground. So under Frontier 1, which is about getting that people into the facility in the first place, there was a lot of work to develop new partnerships. And I think that was actually one of the most challenging things. As a leisure sector, and Lisa alluded to it, we traditionally work with the same people. And if we're going to work with the same people, we'll get the same people coming in. Then this was about actually starting to think about other groups of people to work with. And lots of connections were made with Dementia Alliances and various others to help that recruitment. And it's not an easy thing to do. Finding them is challenging, and then getting their trust is another area that you have to start working on as well. We also looked at the information that you send out, and how you do engage through marketing, and I'll give you some examples of that later on. There's a lot of learning out there that I've seen coming through, particularly from the Richmond group and others, around how do you actually engage people with long-term conditions. And it's not about sport, it's not about exercise, it's about selling the benefits. So we produced some information around that the sites could use. This is a whole customer experience. So under Frontier 2, which is all about what happens once you get to the front desk, we looked at the whole environment. And we created a checklist that would allow people to audit their environment to enable them to see what changes they might need to make. And some of those changes don't need to be massive. And I'll describe some of those in a minute with a picture later on. But you don't need to do big things to have big differences. And then part of the other element of that is making sure that your staff understand the needs of your customers. And so we worked with Alzheimer's Society and they developed some training which was delivered across the country to engage so that people would understand the needs of people with dementia as they were coming through the door. Finally, the opportunities. We didn't dictate what those opportunities were. There was a range of them developed. Some of them were, they shut the pool and they switched off, they dimmed down the lights and they had aqua relax sessions. Some of them had lane swimming. It was a range of things, but there was always an opportunity for people, and there was always the cup of tea and the cake afterwards. And that was a really powerful thing for a lot of people, because for many people we were getting people who were newly diagnosed with dementia and were scared. Let's be honest, it is a scary thing. And they could meet and chat to people who were in the same position as them, but also the carers, because the carers were equally scared. And so they could equally have those conversations and understand the needs and what's going to happen going forward. So we've evaluated the project. So the full report is on our website. And I'm just going to share a few of the outcomes from that. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. Please have a look at that. I recommend having a look at it. We've done, the evaluation has pulled out a lot of lessons that we've learned along the way, because the way that this project was run was that as we learned things, we ploughed it back in and made sure that it was an ongoing developing project. So in terms of what happened, we engaged with 48 leisure operators and created 102 leisure centres who were dementia friendly. So that was great. That's fantastic engagement from the operators. Training-wise, we trained up 895 leisure centre staff. We also developed cascade trainers, so that capacity to train and support staff on an ongoing basis is still in some of the larger operators. And in addition, some of them went out and actually said, well, actually, we want to do more than this. We want to do dementia-friendly training with our counsellors so they understand what this is about. We want to do it with other library staff and with others. So they started to embed that philosophy within their organisation. Again, fantastic. We think we reached around 1,276 people. Now, the reason I say think is it's actually really difficult to capture some of the wider people who may have come through the door because the environment was better. But those were the ones that went to sessions. Some of them had dementia, some of them were mixed condition sessions, and we had 335 carers involved in the project. The carers bit is quite challenging because a lot of individuals, if their carer isn't one of their partners or so forth, they may have a different carer coming with them each week, and they can be the gatekeeper to them coming to activity. Because if they decide they don't want to go swimming, then the person doesn't go swimming. So we need to have a look at that. And then what was really good was the spin-offs, because the centres were started to take a look at, well, actually, if we can do it for swimming, we can do it for other activities. And so we created dry side activities as well. Some of the outcomes that we had, there's an example there of one of the marketing materials that was produced for Bristol, actually. And a lot of it was about selling the benefits, as you can see, and then we've got a few more examples of that as well on the website. But at the core of this was staff. We were hearing from stories from staff saying, I feel really comfortable now supporting with people with dementia. I was a little bit unsure what I was doing, but not just dementia. Actually, I feel more comfortable and confident dealing with customers who come in with a range of conditions. So that was really, really good. We had really strong partnerships formed, as I indicated at the beginning, because we needed to form new partnerships to really work with people. And as I said, the site improvements were very minor in some cases. It was things like signposting. It was things like remove the black mat from the front of your leisure centre because that looks like a black hole to somebody with dementia. So it's very, very simple things that make a massive difference. We even created, and I don't know about you, I struggle when I go swimming trying to find now which locker, what number, and some of the systems, well, they're just a little bit scary anyway. So we created just a bit of, it's basically a plastic thing that goes over the top of the locker. You can put your picture or something that you will remember at the front of it, and then that enables you to remember where your locker was. Very simple, but very effective. So in terms of some of the improvements that we saw when we asked the participants what benefits they were getting, activity levels went up. Great, fantastic, we saw that. Improved water confidence. We had people who arrived, and unfortunately, as a result of the disease, they didn't know if they could swim or not. And some, they got in the water and they found out they couldn't, so we had to be very careful about that. Some, they got in the water and they were off like a fish, quite happily. But that whole thing about muscle memory it's so different from anything else. And people were saying to us, because I said, well, try swimming, you know, it's quite a challenge to get people swimming. And I kept getting stories coming back going, hold on, for most people, swimming is associated with childhood memories, yeah? And they're always about being out at the sea, have fun family holidays. And as a result of their participating, all of that comes back to them. And for 2 to 3 days after they've participated in swimming, you get a change in the mood of the individual. It has a profound effect on people. So it's really important and really a vital thing. And then people were saying, well, I feel more alert, I feel more stimulated, I feel more confident, I'm better to concentrate. But let's hear it from them. I love these quotes because people describe things. I feel as if my joints have been oiled. We all know that. It's fantastic, isn't it? Swimming's a new outlet for my illness. I sometimes get fed up with life, but my interests have got me out of the doldrums. My self-worth has improved. My confidence has improved. So it's a simple swim, but it's changed my life. The water feels great. I don't feel the pain in the water. So that warm water has a profound impact. Getting out of the house, meeting people. Dementia can be a very isolating condition, and so it's really important that we do that. I don't want to disappear into my own world. This gets me out. And then from a carer, when we started she couldn't move, and now she does 12 with, so there's an improvement. She's built in confidence, and that was also a key thing. Carers were saying, for that period of time, I'm getting my partner back. Yeah. So but there were wider benefits as well to this leisure services around contributing to community missions and some of the leisure trusts, upping the profile in terms of with the health bodies as well. And that staff confidence has a big impact in terms of making staff feeling more capable and motivated. And similarly, the partners were saying, actually, this is great because we've now got an outlet, we've got a way of supporting people with dementia, and we want to see that. And we did some return on investment studies, and the information is in there. And we estimated that there was a good return on investment, and if carers were involved, that went up even further. So where we are now is we are looking to expand this, because what we were told was that actually we need to think about wider health conditions. And so we're moving into looking at how we do this. And we're creating our model and dividing it. It's going to be called water wellbeing. And it's really about taking that whole pool approach again, but broadening it to other health conditions. So we've got the tailored recruitment that I talked about. We've got a series of case studies. We've got the messaging available. we've done a lot of work around the area of staff development. We have a new qualification now called Aquatic Activity for Health, level 3 qualification, people with exercise referral, how to do exercise referral in a water-based environment. We also have taken the dementia training and broadened it out, creating positive customer experiences. And as always, we've developed our adult swim framework, and we're also working with arthritis around a peer support training to try and help with that recruitment. The environmental checklist has been broadened, so it looks at other conditions. And then that menu of opportunities. So Learn to Swim's in the mix. Exercise referral there, and Good Boost. And Ben, do you want to wave? Ben's kindly turned up today. So Good Boost uses a tablet-based system with artificial intelligence to prescribe a set of exercises for individuals. And it's run within pool environment, obviously. And it allows people to engage, and as part of that they have their own tailored program, but they also allow people interaction whilst they're in the pool. So if you want to find out more about that, speak to Ben, and we're obviously available to find out that more. Oops. We've got a lot of partners involved in this. As I said, we don't do this alone, so these are just some of the partners involved. And if you want to find out more, I mean, we're really keen for people to come on this journey with us. If you're interested in finding out more, if you're interested in making your pool more inclusive, come and speak to us. These are some of the information that you can get on the website, but obviously we're really keen to work with you, and we're looking for other sites to work with to try and roll out this project. So please come and speak to us. Thank you very much.